Welcome back. My name is Ananda Leon, and this is my dad, Ruben Leon, and this is an autopilot tutorial. This is chapter 2. We're gonna be talking about trim tab installation and the different configurations that you can use. So basically our autopilot is designed as a DIY installation. Basically, we provide all the algorithms and the equations and the control, but the trim tab, it depends on what airplane you're using, how fast it goes, all of that. You have two options. You can do your own trim tabs and servo system, or you can buy a bundle. We partner with Aircraft Automation, and we're gonna be discussing Aircraft Automation's trim tab system and how to install. Well, actually, my dad will explain that to you. So I'll give us a rundown of all the systems that we have.
Okay, well, as we were mentioning in the last chapter, the trim tab autopilot is something that we move a little surface on the already moving surface of the airplane, and this little surface makes the whole airplane move. And the first thing that we like to say is safety. Anything you put on your moving surface, it will cause an extra weight on the surface, so you have to rebalance. This is, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but you have to rebalance your moving surface to avoid flutter or anything like that. If you do that, it's as safe as it can be.
Let me ask you, how do you balance your...
Normally, most moving surfaces have a frontal balancing let's say place, or over here this aileron has a little tube where it does the weight on the front, so you have to make sure that the moving surface is level, it's not negatively balanced, so you don't want it to go like this or like that, but neutral.
Okay.
You like to have a neutral. This I have to stress this first. Now we can go to the trim tabs. Trim tabs is something, it's a little moving surface. It's like a remote control plane surface. That's why we use RC servos, because they work really good. And there are so many out there that you can choose really good quality ones, waterproof ones, fast moving ones, all types. So all we do is to install a little moving surface on the airplane connected to a servo. Let's show this one that has already the servo connected. This is one which is completely on one piece. The servo is here below this little aluminum case, and it just does moving. We also added on this surface a little counterweight, again, to avoid flutter of the trim surface itself. Most people don't do this, but we decided to play it safer, and we added the little balancing beam on this way. If you get disconnected, you don't even get a flutter on this trim surface. So all we have to do now is determine how big the trim surface will be for your airplane. This is a question many people have asked. I have an ultralight. Would they work? Mm-hmm. And we do have different surfaces sizes. Like we have this one. This will be like the ultralight type. As you can see, it's a little bigger.
Yes. So yes. If I understand correctly, the slower the plane flies, the bigger the trim tab area.
Yeah, you have to notice also the ailerons, usually on the ultralights, are also a little bit bigger, so you can have control in the low speed. As a rule of thumb, what we do is say that the trim tab should not exceed 10% of the surface of the moving surface.
Of your aileron.
Of the aileron of the elevator.
So, like if this was 100, this should measure 10.
Well, the area.
Okay.
But yes, let's say the length you can do 20% of the aileron.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's so small, then it runs into inefficiency. But do 20% on the length, and do 5 to 10% in the width.
Okay.
No more than that. We don't want to over control your airplane. And from then you can test fly that. This is a very safe way to do it. You can test fly it, and then if you require a little more trim tab, you can add a little more, and that way you play it safe. Okay. Otherwise, you put a huge trim tab, and then.
Yes. So the idea is that it's able to control your airplane, but you're able to override it.
Exactly. That's the main point. We do have this one. Let's say for ultralights. This will be for an RV aileron. You can see it's a little, let's put them like this, so you can compare the sizes. It's a little smaller. And we do have a smaller one, which this one being smaller, this would be like the elevator. Elevator are more susceptible to movement, so we don't want to move too much the elevator, so we use a little one on the elevator.
Okay. Now that we know the size, can you explain to me where do I put it?
Okay. Well, we have here a sample aileron. This is for an RV7, and we have three tabs. It's not that you need 3, it's just we have 3 different ones.
Okay.
So, and we have chosen the aileron size for this. And what we like to do is saying, the trim tab usually works better if you put it in the middle.
Okay.
Meaning that if you put it on the edge, you have some vortices touching also the trim tab, and so it doesn't work as well as towards the middle. So it'll have more effective towards the middle, but we do have the 3 types of installation to the size. And we like to mention is there are different ways that you can mount the trim tabs. Like let's say this is the one I've been showing. This is for the lazy people who doesn't want to do much work on their ailerons. So what you do is you peel a double-sided tape and just glue it to the surface, and the trim tab will be installed in the jiffy. It takes like 5.
Okay. I have to open a little hole, I see, for the cable?
Yes, you would have to make a little hole to put it inside the aileron, or you can run a tape through here, because some people doesn't like to touch the airplane until they are sure that this autopilot is going to be good for them. Okay. It's a new system, so people say, no, I don't want to touch my airplane. So what they do is just glue it, put a little tape, and run the wire to the airplane. That works just as we do it all the time for testing different sizes. And once you determine the right size, the right position, and everything, then you can make holes on your ailerons. And what this one is, we have 3 types. This one being the one with
peel and stick
solution. It comes with a balancing beam, and the second one is almost the same. This is a peel and stick solution, but this one has an advantage. This is very interesting. We put the servo far away from the trailing edge.
I see.
And we put it forward of the balancing beam. Okay. So now the weight of the servo contributes to the balancing of the aileron.
Okay.
So on this case, you will need less weight to balance the aileron, and in many cases you don't need anything. Okay. You just put this one in front, this one in the back, and that's it.
Okay.
But still, this is peel and stick, so you don't have to make any holes and everything.
Okay.
If you are like me, that likes to make holes on your airplanes and make modifications, we have this type. It's the same system, and what we do is rivet the hinge direct to the aileron. It's a lot cleaner solution than this is. It's a lot of stuff here. This one, I make a hole and put a little plate that we can supply also, that has the servo inside. Now, the servo is inside, is away from the slipstring. It's hidden from the elements, so it's
more aerodynamic.
All this. So this is the end result that this installation should look like.
Okay.
And this one you can also mount forward on the forward section, so you can still take the advantage of the balance, depending on the design of the aileron and the size of the servo. On this case, the servo was a big servo because I wanted to put a big servo, and so it couldn't fit on the back, so I had to fit it on the trailing edge rather than the leading edge. But everyone has its own way to do things. So
okay. We've been getting a lot of questions about fabric airplanes. Is it possible to do this installation, or how do you do that?
Yeah, on the fabric airplane, it will look very similar to this installation.
Like the rivets?
The rivets, yeah. What we do is we take a hinge and we bend it to the trailing edge. Usually the fabric airplane has a little trailing edge tube. Okay. Usually, not all the time, but most of the time they have a trailing edge. But they all have some sort of
a rigid body,
a rigid support. Yes, to put so you can attach the hinge to that support.
What about
the forward size? I would use this. And we can rivet this type of the servo in front of the leading edge. Usually it's made also of some type of frame, and you can just rivet this to a little plate. Okay. You can just rivet the plate to the trailing edge. That way you don't touch your fabric, you don't make holes on your fabric, you don't have to, and the fabric remains.
Okay.
And usually you need for the fabric airplanes a bigger tab, only because they fly sometimes slower. There are fabric airplanes that fly fast, so they need the smaller ones. So.
Okay. In another popular question that we've been getting on the website is, what happens if this loses power?
Okay,
what's the neutral like?
That's what everybody's afraid of. The airplane. Autopilot, the iLevil autopilot goes crazy, or the servo goes crazy, or the wire gets disconnected, or something happens. So usually, what happens is the servo goes back to neutral. Once you take the power of the servo, it just have enough. The wind stream has enough to put it in neutral. Okay. So you lose you disconnect the autopilot because something went wrong. And the trim tabs, it just goes, and that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah, no big deal.
So it auto trims if there's a.
It doesn't auto trim. It just goes to neutral. Okay. The airplane may be out of trim, but the neutral position of the slipstream will not affect the aileron position.
Can you use this for trimming?
You can.
Trimming your
you can. It's a trim tab. So we have on the app a little trim window, so you can just trim the airplane using this, and perfectly you can trim it. So you have a trim system included with this.
Yep. Okay, I think that's.
No, there's another question I'm here around. Don't forget. Can I use my trim tabs on my airplane, the ones that came with the airplane? Yes, those. Yeah, it's a popular question, and the answer is yes, you can. But the trim tab that comes with the airplane is usually a big one.
So you need a big servo.
Not only that, if it goes bad, it'll put a big force on your stick, and we don't want big forces. We want to control the airplane, but not to overpower you. With a normal trim tab, usually it's big, and it'll put a lot of force if it goes bad. And it also doesn't have usually they're not balanced. So if you lose a mechanical link, then they go crazy. So we
do not recommend.
We do not recommend. And also, there's another thing. If you're flying, before you fly with your trimmed out autopilot, we like to trim the airplane. We don't want to fly a crooked airplane and then put an autopilot, because the autopilot will be fighting. So you like to have the airplane flying nice level flights. So you use your standard trim tabs to do that first, and then you activate your autopilot. Of course, if you like to do direct trimming with the autopilot,
it's possible.
It's possible,
but not recommended. Okay. Anything else for trim tabs?
Well, trim tabs is a big deal here. I don't know if I mentioned, but I like to re-mention. Designing the trim tab it's an experimental airplane that has never been flown with one. You have to go first small and grow, rather than go big and shorten. I have to stress this a little bit because you don't want to have big forces. The forces on the airplane should be enough to fly the airplane nicely, but you have to overpower the systems.
So if I follow my 20%, 10% rule, I should be more or less
You should be good. We tried this on many airplanes already, and they all do good. Some needs a little more power, so we put a little bigger, but we grow from that rather than put it up huge one and this is too much and go slow.
And guys, like I said, these are trim tab systems from Aircraft Automation. They're a really good company, and they're designing different trim tabs for airplanes. So if you have a question for your specific airplane or your specific solution, go to aircraftautomation.com or give them a call, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any questions for you. And that's it. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about servo direction.
Yes, how you couple your trim tab to your autopilot, because oops, a mess here. The way the autopilot moves will tell how the trim tab should move. If it moves backwards, it'll be a mess.
So stay tuned for chapter 3 on the iLevil autopilot installation. If you have any comments, put them below. This is Ananda and Ruben. See you on the next chapter.